Welcome back to another exciting coding project, where we'll once again take a creative idea and turn it into something fully functional and visually appealing. In this tutorial, we are going to build a smooth and animated search bar that feels modern and interactive. As you can already see from the final version of the project, the search feature includes a magnifier icon designed with a clean and elegant neumorphism style. When we click on the magnifier, the design smoothly expands into a search bar, and at the same time, a microphone icon appears to complete the interface. If we click on the magnifier once more, the animation reverses, and the search bar neatly shrinks back to its original compact size. To make this project work, we are combining Neumorphism design techniques with the power of JavaScript, where we'll add and remove specific classes to control the different sizes and states of our search bar. You will also notice a subtle animation effect happening on the microphone icon and the search bar whenever we open or close the search field, making the experience more dynamic. In the next section of the tutorial, we are going to start writing the HTML structure that will serve as the foundation for the project. So let's move on, and I'll see you in the next section, where we begin building this animated search bar step by step. With the introduction complete, let's begin building our project together. To start with the HTML structure, we open Visual Studio Code. In this step, we close the Get Started tab. To begin our setup, we navigate to the File menu and select Open Folder. As always, I prefer creating the project on my desktop, but feel free to pick any spot on your computer. Following that, we select the desktop and click the New Folder button to create a new folder. Let's name the folder Animated Search Bar and press Enter to confirm. Right here, we click the Select Folder button to choose our new project folder. Let's close the Get Started tab once more, then right-click in the Explorer section on the left side and select New File. Let's name this new file index.html. With the index.html file open on the right side, completely empty, we can generate the HTML5 boilerplate by typing an exclamation point and pressing Tab. In the boilerplate code, the doctype declaration informs the browser about the HTML version for our page, and for HTML5, we simply place HTML in that position. Following the doctype declaration, the HTML tag appears as the root element of our file, containing both the head and body sections. Inside the opening HTML tag, the lang attribute specifies the language for our page, and we're setting it to English in this case. Following that, we reach the head section, which includes the metadata tags and the title. Starting with the first meta tag, the charset attribute defines the character encoding for our HTML, and HTML5 recommends UTF-8 because it supports nearly all characters and symbols. Following that, we encounter the compatibility meta tag, which instructs Internet Explorer to use its latest rendering engine, which is Edge. The viewport meta tag guides the browser on resizing the page for different devices, and its first part matches the page's width to the device's screen. For instance, a phone screen is narrower than a desktop computer screen. Continuing with the viewport tag, this part handles the initial zoom level. Let's press Alt+V to enable word wrap and view the full line of code. This section of the viewport meta tag controls the starting zoom level for the page, set to full size at 100%. Moving on to the next element, we find the title tag, which defines the page's title in the browser. To view the browser preview directly within Visual Studio Code, we can rely on the Live Server extension. In this step, simply right-click inside the editor, and assuming you've installed the Live Server extension in Visual Studio Code, the option will appear in the context menu. In the context menu, select the Live Preview option. When we click on that option, a browser preview appears on the right side, displaying an empty page with the default title showing at the top. To make it relevant, let's update the title to our project name, Animated Search Bar. We can immediately see the updated title in the Browser tab. After seeing the title update, let's close this preview section. After making that adjustment, we now enjoy extra room on the right side for the index.html editor and browser preview. For our search bar, we'll include a magnifier icon and a microphone. To include these icons in our website and browser, let's use a site called Icon Finder. To find the icons we need, let's return to the desktop and launch Google Chrome. In this browser's search bar, type Icon Finder to find the site. We're looking for a magnifier icon and a microphone icon similar to the ones on the Google search page. To find those icons, we search for Icon Finders in the browser. In the search results, we click on the first website, iconfinder.com. Let's enter magnifier into the search bar to find suitable icons. On the left side, let's select the free icons filter to display only those options. I'll select this image since it closely matches the one from the Google search. Once the image is selected, right-click directly on it and choose Copy Image Address from the menu. Let's switch back to Visual Studio Code and add a div in the body section with the class search bar container. With the image tag added inside, paste the copied link into its src attribute. In the next step, press Ctrl and V keys to paste the text so it appears in the preview on the right side. When it comes to the alternative, we simply write the word magnifier. In the next step, right after the image, we add an input element. In this setup, our input element uses the class name input. This input field uses the type of text, along with a helpful placeholder. You will notice the input field right in this spot. We can add a placeholder here. Let's take a moment to save the file now. In the search field, simply enter the word search, followed by a few dots like this. Immediately after the input, we include an image representing the microphone. In the next step, we add the image tag and return to the iconfinder.com website. We search for the name Mike using Google. Let's simply enter Mike Google as the name. Let's choose the first image, which is free to use, by clicking on it, then right-click and select Copy Image Address. Switch back to Visual Studio Code and paste the URL into the src attribute by pressing Ctrl and V together. You can observe it displayed right here in the preview. For the alt attribute, let's simply enter Mic icon. In the next step, let's assign a class to the image too. These class names help us target the elements later when we apply styling. We simply add the class attribute to the div. For the first image, we can simply call it magnifier. For the final element, we add the class named Mic icon. With the HTML structure now complete, we turn our focus to CSS. In the upcoming section, we will begin styling our project with CSS. Having completed the HTML structure in the previous section, let's move forward to the styling. We've already incorporated two icons from iconsfinder.com and included an input field with a search placeholder. Building on the HTML we've just completed, we will style our project using CSS in this section. Let's begin by creating a new CSS file, so press Ctrl+Shift+E to open the Explorer panel, then right-click inside it and select New File. Let's name this new file style .css and then press Enter to create it. To begin applying CSS to our project, we first need to link the new CSS file inside the HTML code. Let's switch back to the index.html file, and right below the title tag, we'll insert a link tag. Let's type link and select the third autosuggestion, the one for CSS. This link tag establishes the connection between our HTML file and the external style sheet. This href attribute specifies where to find the CSS file, and since both index.html and style.css sit in the same folder, we simply enter style.css as the value. With the CSS file linked, we can begin styling our project. After saving the file with Ctrl+S, let's close the Explorer panel by dragging the divider line to the left for more space on the right side, then switch over to the style.css file. To start styling, let's reduce the size of these icons for a clearer view of our project, which will make the process easier. We have two images in our project, each assigned a specific class, magnifier and mic icon. Let's target these two classes, starting with the magnifier, one using dot notation. Let's go ahead and set the width to 25 pixels for this class. Notice the magnifier icon resizing right away, and now let's target the mic icon class to set its width to 30 pixels. With the icons resized, styling our project becomes much simpler. Before we proceed, let's style the body element to center the items, adjust the positioning, and set the background color. To begin styling the body element, we first remove the default margin around it by setting margin to 0. In the next step, we change the display to flex and use justify content center to position the items horizontally in the center. We also set the height to 100% of the viewport height, so the body matches the full screen size vertically. Finally, we apply Align Items Center to bring the items into vertical alignment at the center. After that, we set the background color to Alice Blue. This creates a light bluish shade similar to white but with a subtle blue tint. With this background color, our Neumorphism design will look much more effective. To achieve the Neumorphism design in our project, select a background color other than white, since a white one hides the white top shadow and prevents the full effect from appearing. In the following step, we will style the container and apply box shadows to create the morphism design. In this step, we will target the container element using its class search bar container. Let's copy that class name and switch to our style.css file to begin styling the container. Let's set the display to flex so the items line up in the same row and then use Align Item Center to align them perfectly. We begin by setting the display to flex, then apply Align Item Center to line them up evenly in one row. In this step, we set the background color to Alice Blue to match the body. In the next step, apply 5 pixels of padding and begin adding the box shadow. To create our morphism design, we apply 2 box shadows. The first shadow sits under the container as a dark one, while the second appears on top as a white shadow. For this first shadow, we set the horizontal offset to 6 pixels and the vertical offset to 6 pixels too. You can observe how the first 6 pixels set the horizontal offset while the second 6 pixels define the vertical offset. Following that, we apply a blur radius of 10 pixels. You'll notice the shadow appearing immediately on the screen. In addition, let's adjust the shadow to make it transparent. To make the shadow transparent, we specify black using the values 0, 0, 0, and 20% transparency. With these 3 properties applied, the shadow now appears much clearer and more defined. To give the container rounded corners, let's apply a border radius. Let's begin by setting the width to 300 pixels. In the next step, we set the height to 50 pixels. We apply a border radius to create rounded corners on the container. To make the corners completely round, we set the border radius equal to the height, which is 50 pixels. In the following step, let's add a white box shadow positioned at the top left. This first shadow positions itself in the bottom right area because the positive 6 pixel offsets move it to the right and downward. For the white shadow that follows, we'll apply a negative offset of 6 pixels. We'll also apply a negative 6 pixel offset vertically to position the shadow at the top and left with a 10 pixel blur. For this shadow, we prefer white over black. Let's use the RGBA function to specify this white color. For the white color values, we use 255 for red, 255 for green, and 255 for blue. For this white shadow, we set the transparency to 70%. With these shadows in place, our search bar now features the Neumorphism design. Creating this morphism effect is simple and requires just 2 shadows. To create this effect, apply a black shadow for the bottom right and a white one for the top left. In the next step, let's add a margin of 10 pixels to provide some spacing around the container. This margin provides extra space around the bar on smaller screens. With that completed, let's proceed to styling the magnifier icon. Let's adjust the cursor style to pointer for better interaction. When you hover over the icon, the cursor will change to a pointing hand. Let's set its position to absolute to move it slightly to the right. To position it absolute, we simply set the left property to 20 pixels. However, this setting positions the icon 20 pixels from the screen's edge. But we actually want to position it 20 pixels inside the search bar. To fix this issue, let's set the position of the parent element, which is the search bar container, to relative. The magnifier icon resides inside, and its parent element is the search bar container that forms this bar. In the next step, let's position the microphone icon on the right side as well. Let's set its position to absolute and align it 20 pixels from the right side. However, I think 10 pixels from the right works just fine. In the following step, let's style the input field as well. In this step, we target the input field using its class named input. To target the input field in CSS, we simply write its selector name. Let's set the background color to transparent to eliminate any default background. Following that change, we remove the border by setting it to none. Let's adjust the margin to 10 pixels on the top and bottom, along with 50 pixels on the left and right. This margin setting positions the input perfectly in the center. In the following adjustment, let's remove that noticeable orange outline. To achieve a clean, Google-like design, we're removing this outline. However, experts strongly recommend keeping the outline in place for better website accessibility. For a real website with your custom design, where users need to access it fully, always keep the outline in place since it's essential for people with disabilities. This ensures everyone, including those with disabilities, can fully access and use our website. However, for this tutorial project alone, we remove the outline to create a more beautiful website design. Now that we've addressed the outline, let's adjust the text color. The current text color looks fine, but let's darken it slightly for better contrast. To achieve better contrast, we set the text color now. To define this color precisely, we use the RGB function. We'll use 100 for red, 100 for green, and 100 for blue to create a dark gray color. That adjustment creates a subtle dark gray shade for the text. Having set the text color perfectly, we can continue forward. Moving forward, let's introduce a feature where clicking the magnifier expands the search bar while normally displaying a smaller icon. To bring this feature to life, we'll add a class called Active to our HTML elements. When we add the Active class, the search bar will shrink to a smaller size. When the Active class is present, we adjust the search bar's width from 300 pixels down to only 50 pixels. When the Active class is present on the search bar container, we set its width to 50 pixels. Let's quickly remove this extra space in the code. With that space cleared up now, however, when we reduce the width to 50 pixels, the search input and microphone still take up space inside the bar. Additionally, we need to hide the microphone icon from the search bar too. When the Active class is present, we hide the input field completely. To hide the input field completely, we can set visibility to none or reduce its width to 0. Similarly, for the microphone icon, we target its class named MicIcon. In this adjustment, we will set its width to 0 pixels. In an upcoming step, we will add a smooth transition to the widths of the microphone icon and search input. This transition will let them expand and shrink smoothly with animation. With that completed, we have finished the CSS styling for our project. With the CSS styling now complete, we'll add interactivity to our project using JavaScript in the upcoming section. That wraps up our CSS styling, so join me in the next section for JavaScript. In the previous section, we completed the CSS part of our project. We have added a class named Active to our search bar container, which displays a simple circle when applied and shows the full bar with search input and microphone when removed. But when we have this class active, we don't have the microphone or the search bar, and the width of the search bar is only 50 pixels. In this section, let's remove the active class right away and use JavaScript to toggle it dynamically with the toggle method for smooth animations that shift the search bar between small and large sizes. To start implementing JavaScript, let's create a new file by opening the Explorer panel with Ctrl+Shift+E, then right-clicking inside it and selecting New File. Let's name this new file index.js and then press Enter to create it. Let's drag this new file into the working area and connect it to our HTML before adding any JavaScript functionality to the project. Let's return to the index.html file, scroll to the end of the body tag, and insert a script tag there. Let's type SC and select the second suggestion, which includes the src attribute. Since both the index.html and index.js files sit in the same folder, simply enter index.js for the src attribute. With the script file linked, we are ready to add JavaScript to our project. Let's close the Explorer panel to create more room for the coding ahead. Let's adjust the browser window slightly smaller and switch to index.js to begin adding functionality to our project. In the next step, we should select the magnifier element to respond to its click event. To select this element, we'll use the query selector method since the image carries a class named magnifier. To select an element using its class name, we rely on the query selector method. In this step, we declare a constant named searchBarContainer element and assign it the result from document.querySelector using the class selector for searchBarContainer. With the searchBarContainer selected, we can now add an event listener to it. Press Alt and C to enable word wrap, then add an event listener to this element for the click event. In this step, we'll manage the click event so that tapping the icon triggers a custom function we'll define here. In this part, our goal is to add and remove the active class dynamically. Actually, we don't need to attach the event listener to this element. Instead, attach the event listener to the magnifier, which uses the class magnifier. I realize now that was the wrong element to select first. Let's select the magnifier element using document.querySelector with the class selector for magnifier. In the following step, we need to add an event listener to this magnifier element. Let's add an event listener to the magnifier element to handle clicks on this icon, which will toggle the active class on its parent searchBarContainer. To achieve that, we access the searchBarContainer's class list and toggle the active class. Let's test this out by clicking the magnifier icon. Take a look, we've successfully added the active class. To enhance the effect, let's add a transition that creates smooth animations instead of abrupt width changes and the sudden hiding of the microphone and search bar. In the next part of our CSS, we add a transition to the searchBarContainer's width since it shifts from 300 pixels to 50 pixels, setting it to last 1.5 seconds for smoothness. Let's give it a try and observe the smooth transition effect. As we observe the smooth movement take effect, the microphone still appears and disappears abruptly, so let's add transitions for the microphone and search bar too. In the next step, let's move to the microphone and add a transition for its width too, since we changed the width from 30 pixels to 0 pixels, so we target the width property. For the microphone, we want the transition to last a little less than 1.5 seconds, so let's set it to 0.4 seconds. We can see the microphone appearing with the transition effect, but to improve the timing, let's add a delay so it appears and disappears right after the search bar's transition finishes. For that, we'll set the transition delay to 1 second. Observe how the microphone now disappears after a 1-second delay and reappears with the same timing. In the next step, let's copy these transition properties to the search input section and test the updated effect. In this adjustment, we set the input width to 0 when the active class applies. I realize we haven't set a width for the input yet, so let's add a width of 100% to it first, then test the effect. After testing the effect, the transition feels a bit too fast, so let's adjust it to 1 second. Let's also adjust the delay to half a second for better synchronization. Feel free to experiment with these values and find the ideal timing for your project. To wrap things up, that completes our project, and I hope you enjoyed it while learning plenty along the way. We explored neumorphism design, smooth transitions, and dynamically adding or removing classes, all with icons sourced from iconfinder.com. One more thing to add before we wrap up: apply the active class by default so visitors see only the circle at first, and clicking the magnifier reveals the full search bar. I truly hope you enjoyed building this project and that you were able to learn some useful techniques along the way. Thank you for following along, and I look forward to sharing even more exciting tutorials with you soon. Until then, take care and I'll see you in the next one.